Welcome back as we continue our study in the prophecies and history of our people in Deuteronomy. We're in Deuteronomy chapter 4. We have looked at who we are from the Most High's view. We have looked at who the Most High is from our view. We have also looked at and talked about our present state in terms of being a scattered people. We've also talked about the gathering of us that is exemplified in the Feast of Tabernacles. The Feast of Tabernacles is one of three feasts that all the males were commanded to appear before the Most High in Jerusalem, the place he chose. And the last of those three feasts is Tabernacles, the gathering together, the final harvest, which is emblematic of the final harvest and the gathering together of Yah's chosen ones from the four corners of the earth. We went and we saw more than 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 witnesses. In some cases, you saw me get 10 witnesses of these things, of the scattering and of the regathering of Yah's people. We also understand, let me review that because some people are going to just look at this video for the first time and not have background on all the other stuff that we talked about. In the previous two videos, we went through why we are the chosen people according to the Bible. We went through why the name Jesus Christ was permitted to be in the Bible, though that is not his name. We went through how that happened and how not everybody is going to be privy to his real name and understand his real name, but his people are. And we also got Bible evidence of who we are, of how the Most High has chosen us. We got Bible evidence about why we are scattered and where we are scattered and how we're going to be gathered together. We got Bible evidence for all of that. Okay. And so understanding too, as we have previously in previous studies, studied the three feasts. We have studied this already. This is not something we never studied before. We studied the feasts, and we're going to study them again as Deuteronomy is going to bring them up in chapter 16. We're going to go through them again. And the feasts are not only a sign in terms of feast given only to Yah's chosen people, Israel. It was not given to any other people. And they're prophetic signs. And as an example, why would somebody say, what are the feasts? There are three feasts. In fact, let's take a look at that. Let's peek into Exodus chapter 23. Moses really speaks a lot on this. So we have that in Moses's writings. Let me see here. Let me also get a second witness, but let's see here Let's first see Exodus chapter 23. Exodus chapter 23. Moses repeats this at least twice, if not three times. He repeats it at least twice, if not three times. So let's take a look. Exodus chapter 23. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, and also Second Chronicles also repeats it, as well as, if I'm not mistaken, let's see. And I'm going to go to Hosea chapter 2, just some witnesses about the feast aside from Moses. So we have that. We have Second Chronicles chapter 8. We're going to also have Psalms 81. And what else? Let's see. There's more. There's more. So we have Psalms 81. We have Second Chronicles chapter 8. We're going to look at all of these. And there is Second Chronicles chapter 2, as well as Second Chronicles chapter 8, as well as we just talked about Hosea chapter 2, and also there's others. So we'll look at these things from other witnesses. But first, let's start with Moses. Exodus chapter 23. Again, we're going to go more into this as we get to Deuteronomy 16. But for now, I'm bringing it up for a reason. Verse 14 of Exodus chapter 23. Exodus chapter 23, verse 14. 3 times thou shalt keep a feast unto me in the year. And then he names the 3 feasts. Thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread. Thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I commanded thee, in the time appointed of the month Abib. For in it thou camest out of Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty. That's the first feast. And the feast of harvest, the first fruits of thy labors, which thou hast sown in the field. And the feast of ingathering, which is in the end of the year, when thou hast gathered in thy labors out of the field. And verse 17 confirms it again. 3 times in the year, all thy males shall appear before Yahweh. That's Exodus chapter 23. Then Moses says it again. Let me see here. I'm just looking at one thing before I keep going on. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 16, which again, we're going to read this in more detail later. Deuteronomy 16:16. Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 16. 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before Yahweh thy Most High, in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles. And they shall not appear before Yahweh empty. So Moses says it twice, that 3 times in a year. And by the way, we also understand that these feasts were given to Israel through Moses. They were not given through anyone else prior. They were given to the Israelites through Moses. Moses is the one that was used to give us these feasts. Let's now go to 2 Chronicles, our second witness, chapter 8, 2 Chronicles chapter 8. I'm going to read 2 Chronicles chapter 8, verse 12 and 13. Then Solomon offered burnt offerings unto Yahweh on the altar of Yahweh, which he had built before the porch, even after a certain rate every day, according to the commandment of Moses, on the Sabbaths and on the new moons and on the solemn feasts 3 times in the year, even the feast of unleavened bread, the feast of weeks, and the feast of tabernacles. What I like about this witness is some erroneously tried to account the Sabbaths as the feast. Here it clearly separates them. It says in the new moons also, it separates them, the new moon and the Sabbath, and then the solemn feasts, which are 3. Now, what am I bringing that up for? Each feast is also a prophetic sign. Let me explain for those that never heard this before. The Feast of Unleavened Bread was the time of the crucifixion and resurrection of the Messiah. Let me say that again. The Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is also the Passover, was the crucifixion and resurrection of Messiah, right? So that feast pointed to the crucifixion and resurrection of Messiah, which is why he is also called the Lamb of the Most High. That's the first prophetic sign. The second feast, the Feast of Weeks, which happened 50 days later, the Feast of the First Fruits. It was on that feast called Pentecost that the early rain, the power from the Father, came upon the Israelite people through the apostles, which were all Israelites. That was the second sign, and that feast served as the second sign. It was also then that people came out of the graves, which is the first fruits of his resurrection. They came out of the graves after his resurrection, and they appear in the book of Revelation around the throne of the Father as the 24 elders that are redeemed from among men. So you see there's a sign in the Feast of Passover, which is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. There's a sign in the Feast of Weeks, and there's a third feast. After we understand that the Messiah was was crucified and resurrected in the Passover, and after we understand that the day of Pentecost brought early rain spirit power upon the people and also brought a first fruits of the Father, Son resurrection, we understand that, then we would ask ourselves, what would be the third sign of the Feast of Tabernacles, which is called the Feast of Ingathering, when thou hast gathered in thy harvest? When he says, I'm going to gather my people back together that have been scattered. It is the sign of the return of Messiah. So the return of Messiah will happen at the Feast of Tabernacles. We know this from what I just said. But which Feast of the Tabernacles, which year, that is where we are now. That is why the Most High has given us 2027 as the sign, which it is a sign of the 40th Jubilee since the Messiah came and announced the Jubilee in AD 27. AD 27, he said that this is the year, he said, for the release. This is the year where this is fulfilled in your ears. The Spirit of Yahweh has come upon me because he has appointed me to free the captives. It is the acceptable year, which is the year of release, which is a jubilee. He said, this day, this scripture is fulfilled in your ears. That was AD 27. 2027 will be the 40th jubilee since then. 40 is a significant number in the Bible. It is the end of a time of testing. It's the end of a time of testing. Why do I bring all that up? Because there are people erroneously saying that the bloodline is no longer relevant. And many, including many Christians, several, I'll say, put it this way conservatively, several Christian sects, SECT sects, are trying to claim to be spiritual Israel. I even heard one child of Japhet. By the way, somebody asked me, what does it mean, Japhet? Please read your Bible. Genesis chapter 10 from verses 1 through 5 shows you the children of Japhet. Those are modern day Europeans. All Europeans have their origin in the man that's called Japhet, which are European, and that's their motherland. Now, I've heard children of Japhet say that they believe that the European is the children of Ephraim. We have a whole section of Europeans claiming to be Jews and are not. We have a whole bunch of Europeans taking over the land that is our land and our father's land. We have a whole bunch of Europeans claiming to be spiritual Israel from different denominations. None of this, zero, is true. There is still a bloodline. It is forever the bloodline. And we have also studied the Bible to know what that actual bloodline looks like in appearance, what happened to them, and where they are now, which we just studied in terms of the scattering of Yah's people. So all of this was covered. We studied it all in this book. Everything is in there. Okay, everything is that I just said is in there. And y'all could bear witness. There's nothing I just told you that wasn't in there. Everything is in these 66 books of this volume called the King James Version, the 1611 King James Bible. All of this is in there. Okay, so today, as we're looking at, and so we just saw the 3 appointed feasts. Wait a minute. I also told you there'll be some others. Let's see. I'm going to, I got lots of options. That's why I'm hesitant here. I got lots of options. Hold on. There's one in Psalm that I want. That's why. Okay. Psalm 81. That's what I was looking for. There's one in Psalm that I wanted. Psalms 81. Let's take a look. Psalms 81 before we go back. Psalms 81. All right. Psalms 81. I'm going to read from verse 1 down to verse 4 of Psalms 81. 1 to 4. Psalms 81, 1 to 4. A third witness with respect to the feasts. Psalms 81. Sing aloud unto the Most High our strength. Make a joyful noise unto the Most High of Jacob. take a psalm, and bring hither the timbrel, the pleasant harp with the psaltery. Blow the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed, our solemn feast day. For this was a statute in Israel and a law of the Most High of Jacob. So he says the new moon, but then he says the solemn feast day. Okay? So that again gives us, and there are more, obviously, but I wanted 3 witnesses. This is always we try to get. So here, let's go back now to Deuteronomy. Right. They can wish it as strong as they want to. It will not change what the Most High has said. In fact, before we even go to Deuteronomy, let's go to Malachi for that word. Malachi chapter 3. Let's go to Malachi chapter 3 real quick, shall we? Malachi chapter 3. Praise the Most High for his word. Praise the Most High for the word. The word is our guide. The word is our strength. The word is forever. And we're going to see that right now. Malachi chapter 3. Okay, I'm going to read Malachi chapter 3. I'm going to read from verse 1 down to verse 6. Malachi chapter 3, from verse 1 to verse 6. This is also part of a prophecy. Notice what it says. Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. And Yahweh, whom ye seek, shall suddenly come to his temple, even the messenger of the covenant, whom ye delight in. Behold, he shall come, saith Yahweh of hosts. So he said he's going to send a messenger before the messenger of the covenant. Let me ask you, who was the messenger that came before the messenger of the covenant? Who was that messenger that appeared before the messenger of the covenant? Being that the messenger, that's right, it was John the Baptist. John the Baptist was the messenger before the messenger of the covenant came, which is Messiah. The thing is about John the Baptist that's very interesting is the tribe he came from. Let's keep reading here. He's talking about the messenger before the messenger of the covenant, and then verse 2. But who may abide in the day of his coming? And who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire and like a fuller's soap. He shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he shall purify the sons of Levi. Was John the Baptist of the sons of Levi? Was he? And purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto Yahweh an offering in righteousness. Then shall the offering of Judah and Jerusalem be pleasant unto Yahweh, as in the days of old, as in former years. And I will come near to you in judgment, and I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers and against the adulterers and against false swearers, against those that oppress the hireling in his wages, the widow and the fatherless, and that turn aside the stranger from his right, and fear not me, saith Yahweh of hosts. For verse 6, for I am Yahweh, I change not. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. Because if he called Jacob's children and he says, I don't change, that means they are never going to be extinguished. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. And before the return of the Messiah, that is this final return, the second return, this is Malachi chapter 4, again, verse 4, 5, and 6. Malachi chapter 4, verse 4, 5, and 6. Remember ye the law of Moses. What tribe was Moses? Of the 12? What tribe was Moses again? Of the 12 tribes? Which one was Moses? Oh, you think that's coincidental? So he's talking about John the Baptist, a Levite. He's talking about cleansing the Levites to offer an offering in righteousness. Why did he say that? Because the only tribe to offer is Levi. They're the only tribe of the 12 to offer an offering. No other tribe was permitted to offer an offering. So he said, I'm going to send a messenger, a Levite messenger, before the tribe of Judah, who is the messenger of the covenant, and I'm not going to change. So you sons of Jacob are never going to be consumed. And before I return, remember the law of Moses, the Levite, my servant, which I commanded him in Orb for all Israel with the statutes and judgments. Behold, I will send unto you Elijah the prophet. And I can show you Elijah was a Levite without even going there. If you read about Elijah, this is what you read. He was of the children of Manasseh, but he wasn't a Manasseh. How do we know that? Because if only Levi can bring offerings, did Elijah create an offering? Did he offer an offering? Did he offer a burnt offering? Yes, he did, which tells you what tribe he was. Because the Levites were scattered throughout Israel. The Levites were in all 12 tribes. Every tribe had Levi, every one. Levite did not have their own land. They were scattered throughout Israel. So Manasseh had Levites, Judah had Levites, Asher had Levites, Gad had Levites, Dan had Levites, Reuben had Levites, but only Levites could do the burnt offering. Anybody else that attempted to do the burnt offering will be put to death. Only Levites can do it. So he said, here's Elijah the prophet, another Levite. Can you remember we were just looking at Messiah yesterday on the mountain with Elijah and Moses? Isn't that something? Both of them Levites. Before the great and dreadful day of Yahweh, and he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. Praise the Most High. See? So this is, okay? So, just by the witness of the Levites that we just read, Israel will never go away. There will never be a substitute for Israel, ever. No Gentile can ever be a Levite. Testing 1, 2, 3. Levites are a bloodline, not just to Israel, but bloodline to Moses, bloodline to Elijah, bloodline to John the Baptist, bloodline. Nobody else could do it. And Levi, as we saw, we didn't read it today, but go back and read Malachi 2. Levi was appointed to teach the children of Israel the statutes and judgments. The Most High also said that in Numbers. He was appointed to teach the children of Israel statutes and judgments. So if the Levites are appointed to teach the truth to the people, right? And their bloodline, right? So if you're a child of Yefet, you got to find a Levite that's teaching, who's going to explain to you the truth. Better find a Hebrew if you can, right? Because it's been appointed to them to give it to you. So the Levites especially are to teach Israel, but Israel is going to teach everybody because the Levites teach Israel, Israel teaches everybody. That's right. Judah the lawgiver, the teachers, the Levites. Praise the Most High. So now we know, even though and look, that's what it says. And let's go to Deuteronomy 4, because that's what it really says there. Look at this. Deuteronomy chapter 4, with respect to the children of Israel. Deuteronomy chapter 4, we finished at verse 28, but let's go back to verse 27 and start from there. So this is Deuteronomy chapter 4, beginning at verse 27, okay? Deuteronomy chapter 4, beginning at verse 27. And Yahweh shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither Yahweh shall lead you. And there ye shall serve gods, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see, nor hear, nor eat, nor smell. But if from thence thou shalt seek Yahweh thy Most High, and thou shalt find him, if thou seek him with all thy heart and with all thy soul, when thou art in tribulation, and all these things are come upon thee, even in the latter days, if thou turn to Yahweh thy Most High, and shall be obedient to his voice, for Yahweh thy Most High is a merciful Most High. He will not forsake thee, neither destroy thee, nor forget the covenant of thy fathers, which he sware unto them. So he says he's sworn this covenant to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and he does not change. And so what he's saying, even though we have been scattered into our enemies' lands, even though we have been forced to worship the false gods of our enemies, he will never forsake us. And that is why the awakening that is now underway is so important. In fact, the awakening, as I said the other day, is the biggest sign of the end, because we've been scattered throughout our enemies' lands all over this earth, under our enemies' governments. Is that right? We have been scattered in our enemies' lands because we're under their governments. We're under the rules of their governments. And the most powerful nations have the most powerful governments. And all of them are heathen. And we are under their control. We have been scattered like that. But now we're awakening to who we are. And we're awakening not only to who we are, who our God is, and what he's capable of, and how he has only chosen us. And our God said we would leave him. Here, that's what this is. When you're looking at Deuteronomy 4:27, that's the prophecy. You're going to be scattered, but I ain't going to forget you. You're going to be scattered. You're going to worship the gods of the heathen nations that you're scattered into. But I'm not forgetting you. I'm never forgetting you. That's an everlasting promise, part of an everlasting covenant. It's an everlasting message, which Revelation calls the everlasting gospel. That's right. That's right. So in the beginning, the Most High named the chosen of Israel. Yahweh called Moses. Yahweh spoke to Moses. These be the words. That has not changed. And guess what? It never, ever will change. The only question really among us is, who among us will defect? Who among us will leave the Most High? Who among us will go for the money, whatever they're offering? Who among us will rather, do and forsake us to get favor with our enemies? That is going to happen. The Judas does exist. So did Balaam. They're going to exist all the way until the second return of the Messiah. So that's going to happen. The only question is, who among us will stand firm through all of this deception, lies, threats, desperation of our enemies? Who's going to stand firm? And that is why we are always imploring family, pray. Family, pray. Believe in your Father. Know who you are, and know who your Father is. Meditate on who your Father is. Meditate on what has he done for you? What has he done? Has he delivered you from some stuff? Has he? Has he provided for you? Has he? Understand who you are. Has he put that in your spirit, who you really are? Has he? See, if he's done these things, there is no reason for you to forget him. And as he has done this, he will hold on to you. Now, he'll permit you to leave if you really want to, but he's going to try his best to convince you not. He really going to, by his spirit, convict you and keep you if he can. And if you want to stay with him, nothing can take you away from him. Okay, nothing can take you away from him. You'd have to choose to leave. Okay, you have to choose to leave. But nothing can actually take you from him. They're going to try. They're going to bring in, they're bringing all kinds of stuff. You can see it, right? They're trying to kill us. They're trying to show us other turncoats. They try to show us entertainers. you know, that give us the promise that we can be like them entertainers. And they do all kinds of things. They're trying to poison us. They're trying to murder us in the street. You know, it was interesting. I was watching a video right before I came on today. This dude, Tim Black, you might have heard of him. He does his little channel. And Tim Black showed a child of Yafet was pulled over by a police officer. The child of Yafet not only got out of his car when he wasn't asked to, he got out of his car with an AK-47 and walked up to the police officer car with his AK-47, a loaded AK-47. Now, if you don't know what an AK-47 is, that is a semi-automatic rifle that can shoot a whole bunch of bullets in a few seconds. Okay, it's one of these rapid fire type things. What maybe you saw in the movies as a machine gun, AK-47. So homie walks out his car with the AK in his hand and walked up to the police officer. Guess what? The police officer didn't do anything. I would say, would you say it would be reasonable for that officer to assume that his life was in danger? And in such situations where he assumes his life is in danger, would it be reasonable for him to pull out his own gat and blow that fool away? I think that would be a reasonable assumption. I don't think he'd have even got in trouble if he'd have done that. But the child of Yafet, after he cursed out the officer, went back into his car and they ended up talking to him. Now, I don't know what charges were filed or whatever, but the child of Yafet that rolled up on the car with loaded AK, he's still alive. He didn't get shot. But the 18-year-old boy that ran out the stolen car running away from the officer is dead. Now, what does this mean? Well, let's make it obvious. They want to kill black people. Every black man is a threat. Now, we, as the awakened Hebrews, understand why are we a threat? Because the devil knows we look like the man-child. And he's always wanted to kill the man-child. And he knows that the man-child is coming to kill him. He knows this. So therefore, anybody, you don't understand why they hate you. Understand, you look like the man-child. Every black woman looks like a woman that had the man-child. And every black man looks like the man-child. And you are hated by those that don't know him and hate him. That is why they kill us. That is why one of their cousins could walk out of a car with a loaded gun and he can get back in his car and not feel threatened. But one of us could be running away from them and they can say they're threatened and murder us. See, that's, to me, if you don't come to the proper conclusion, you might go crazy, like Brother Hinton's father did when he ended the life of one of them uniforms, right? Brother Hinton was with the boy, and y'all should have heard his grandfather. Now, the father didn't say nothing. They said I read where they showed the father the video from the dash cam of the police officer. It was after that very next day, he decided, okay, this is how we're going to handle this. But the grandfather was on the TV saying, I'm praying for that officer. I'm praying because I know he's in pain, just like we in pain. When are we going to stop shuffling? That's what I want to know. When are we going to stop shuffling? We shuffle for them all the time. We shuffle and we trying to win their favor. And it ain't going to work. No matter what, you still look like the man-child. They still hate you. You still a slave. Yep. Granddaddy's crying and saying how sad. Oh my gosh, man. But see, understanding who you are, you can completely see why that situation happened. You can completely see. Understanding who you are. See? Yes, it's obvious. Now, a lot of them would justify themselves. Well, he had a gun. We heard the gun was pointed at the, oh, no, it wasn't. I saw the video. No, it wasn't. Boy was running away. And I didn't even see a gun in his hand. But let's say for the sake of argument, he had a gun in his hand. But he was running away. away. That officer's life was not in danger. So we understand. We look like the man-child, and they're always going to hate us. It's never going to go away. It's more than the physical look of the melanin in your skin. It's the spiritual battle of who you really are that they hate. The people that are racist are devils working for their father, the devil. Period. End of story. And the devil hates you. He hates you because of who you look like and who your cousin is. And he will try his best to kill you. That's right. The dragon will always be wroth with the man-child and look to make war with the remnant of his seed. That is why it's our safety, brethren, seriously, for us to understand who we are. If the young man knew who he was, he would have just dropped the gun and raised his hand and let it go and said, listen, okay, I give up. See? But running away caused that devil to kill him. This ain't about police versus anti-police or defunding the police. Nope. It was a Caucasian devil that shot a boy. He wasn't even a man. He was 18 years old. He was a boy. Caucasian devil killed the boy. And it wasn't the first, the second, the third, or the fourth, or the 10th time that happened. Caucasian devil been killing our boys. Long time. You're right, Superstar. I can't deny it. Superstar said even if he did that, they might have shot him anyway. You know what? Probably right. But I will say this. Us who are awakened, who are dwelling in the spirit of the Father, the Most High will protect us. Right? He will protect us. You see what I'm saying, Superstar? He'll protect you. You're right. He might have killed that boy anyway. I mean, shoot, they killed Tamir Rice with a toy pistol. He had a toy pistol in his hand. 12 years old, they murdered him. Those people that murder our people like that are devils. Period. End of story. I'm not even apologizing about that. They devils. And they're going to get what they got coming very shortly. Deuteronomy chapter 4. Okay? Now, he's telling us, although he knows we're going to worship other gods, cause them to get mad, and have us scattered. And as we continue to study on, he's going to not even telling us that. He's going to tell us we're going to be with people that are not merciful to us. People who are not a people. Now, this is interesting. We're going to read that. He said, I'm going to bring you into captivity with those that are not a people. Now, what does that mean? Not a people. This is interesting now. What makes a people in the Bible? They have a progenitor, right? You have somebody that's the beginning of that people, right? So in other words, there was somebody whose seed started Israel, right? Abraham, right? He is the progenitor of Abraham. That's what makes us a people. Abraham, okay? There was a seed of Anglo-Saxons that started what's now called the United Kingdom, right? There are also seeds of people that started Yavon, that, from children of Yafet that came and started Yavon or Ashkenaz. There is a seed that creates a people, all right? What seed created the United States of America? Whose seed was it that made America? Was there one man's seed that started the nation of America? Or did they just come here from a whole bunch of conglomeration of Japhet, kill everybody that was here from the northern tribes and take over the land? I think that's what happened. They came here from different parts of Europe. Mostly they was British, but they came here all from all over the place, right? In Europe, I mean. And they just killed all of the inhabitants and took it over. So the United States is not a people. Egyptians are a people. Indians are a people. Chinese are a people, right? They're all people. They have a seed that started them, and they all look like that seed. They all look like that seed. Okay? Asians look like their seed. Right? They're a people. Well, what seed is the United States? Nope, you can only go back to Yafet. because there's so many different seeds of Yafet that have come here. They're not a people. Israel is a people. Abraham is the seed that started the nation. We're a people. He said, I'm going to cause you to go into captivity by them that's not a people. Look at that. How many nations aside the United States and Canada actually fit that description? Canada's like that too. Canada came over here. The French came over, killed us, killed our people, took it over. Then the British came behind them. So that's why you got French speaking Montreal, right? And you got English speaking the rest of the nation. Only two of these powerful nations that are not a people. I'm going to cause them that's not a people to bring you into captivity. Now you understand what that means. That's right. They themselves, right? Stephen Kelly, they say it's a melting pot. So it's not a people. Even Jamaica. Jamaica's national creed is out of many, one people. That's Jamaica national creed. Out of many, one people. The thing about Jamaica is that you don't see them kicking out people that's foreign. But the ones that's in the United States that's not a people, they're telling all the people of the earth that made up the United States, you can't come here. Or we don't like you, we're going to send you out of here. We don't like the color of your skin, we're going to send you out. Because they're not a people. Look at that. Anyway, here we are. The Most High knew we would forsake him. He knew he would spank us. He also knew that when we call upon him, he's going to bring us back. So we are never being replaced by any Gentile or any man-made religion. Never, ever. Okay. Verse 32, Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 32. For ask now of the days that are past, which were before thee, since the day that the Most High created man upon the earth, and ask from one side of heaven unto the other, whether there hath been any such thing as this great thing is, or hath been heard like this. What great thing, brother Moses? Verse 33, did ever people hear the voice of the Most High speaking out of the midst of the fire as thou hast heard and live? Has any other people heard his voice? No. We are the children of the only human beings in the history of the planet that heard the voice of the creator of the planet. Audibly. It wasn't in the spirit, it was audible. We heard the voice of the creator of the planet. No other people in the history of this planet heard the voice of the people, of the creator of the planet. Only our fathers. That's it. Okay. Verse 34. Or hath the Most High essayed to go and take him a nation from the midst of another nation by temptations, by signs, and by wonders, and by war, and by a mighty hand, and by a stretched out arm, and by terrors, according to all that Yahweh, your Most High, did to you in Egypt before your eyes? So in the history of the world, has there ever been a God that took a nation of people and removed them from another nation? Has that ever happened before? And took his nation of people and took them out of another nation's hands? Has that ever happened? Anybody? No, never. Only our people. That's it. That's it. And I want you to notice. He did not say, I took a religion out of Egypt. Did he say that? Did he say, I took this religion out of Egypt by signs and wonders? Did he say that? What did he say? He said, I took my nation out of another nation. Again, let's stress this point. We are not a religion. We are a nation of people. Where is the nation? It's scattered throughout the earth, waiting to be gathered again by the Spirit of the Father and Messiah. He took his nation out of another nation. Even Egypt, which is really called Mizraim, it was changed to Egypt by the Greeks. It's called Mizraim. Well, that nation is the seed that's founded that nation is the man Mizraim. Ethiopia, the seed that founded Ethiopia, is the man Cush. So those are a people. The United States is not a people. Australia is not a people. New Zealand is not a people. Canada is not a people. The Afrikaners are not a people. Let's break this down, man. I'm going to cause you to be carried captive by those that are not a people. Okay. Verse 35. Watch this. Unto thee, Israel, unto thee it was showed that thou mightest know that Yahweh, he is most high. There is none else beside him. Did we not read where Isaiah said the same thing that the Father told Isaiah? There's none else beside me. There is no other God. I know not any. Verse 36. Out of heaven he made thee to hear his voice, that he might instruct thee. And upon the earth he showed thee his great fire, and thou heardest his words out of the midst of the fire. And because he loved thy fathers, therefore he chose their seed after them, and brought thee out in his sight with his mighty power out of Egypt. So, because he chose our fathers, we are the seed that he chose after them. The seed of our father Abraham, our father Isaac, our father Jacob. We are his seed, their seed, and he chose us after them. And the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep commandment of Yahweh and have the testimony of Messiah. The dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed. That's why the brother was shot in the back. That's why Leona Taylor was murdered in her bed. That's why Tamir Rice was killed with a play gun. We can keep going. We can keep going. That's why Ahmaud Arbery was shot jogging. That's why Trayvon Martin was shot with a bag of Skittles. The dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed. None of those men understood who they were. We do. Verse 38. To drive out nations from before thee, greater and mightier than thou art, to bring thee in, to give thee their land for an inheritance as it is this day. See, we not only taking the land he gave to us from the Canaanites, we taking all their land. Eventually, it's going to be ours. And it ain't going to be by our strength. It's going to be by the Father's mighty hand. Praise the Most High. Know therefore this day, and consider it in thine heart, that Yahweh, he is the Most High in heaven above and upon the earth beneath. There is none else. Again, notice he's repeating the same thing. There's several things Moses repeats. That's one of them. Another one is don't worship other gods. He keeps saying that. Don't worship other gods. Don't worship other gods. Then he obey the commandments of your God. Obey your God. Obey your God. Don't worship other gods. There is no other God. Don't worship other gods. Thou shalt keep, therefore, his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee this day, that it may go well with thee, and with thy children after thee, that thou mayest prolong thy days upon the earth, which Yahweh thy Most High giveth thee forever. Then Moses severed 3 cities on this side of Jordan toward the sunrise, that the slayer might flee thither, which should kill his neighbor unawares, and hated him not in times past, that fleeing unto one of these cities he might live. namely Bezer in the wilderness in the plain country of the Reubenites, and Ramoth in Gilead of the Gadites, and in Golan in Bashan of the Manassites. This is the law which Moses set before the children of Israel. These are the testimonies and statutes and judgments which Moses spake unto the children of Israel after they came forth out of Egypt. On this side Jordan, in the valley over against Bath-peor, in the land of Sihon of the Amorites, who dwelt in Heshbon, whom Moses and the children of Israel smote after they were come forth out of Egypt. And they possessed his land, and the land of Og, king of Bashan, 2 kings of the Amorites, which were on this side of Jordan toward the sunrising, and Arar, which is by the bank of the river Arnon, even unto Mount Zion, which is Hermon, and all the plain on this side of Jordan eastward, even unto the sea of the plain, unto the springs of Pisgah. So, cities of refuge for the guy or the woman that killed somebody by accident. They had a refuge. They weren't a murderer. Well, they were a murderer, but they weren't planning to be a murderer. And so there was a refuge for them, a refuge from vengeance. Praise the Most High. Father Yah has appointed a city of refuge. It's Messiah. Messiah is our city of refuge. Praise the Most High. Our cousin, he's the city of refuge. Praise the Most High. He is the one that we can run to. And he's the one whose blood is the atonement for our sin. He's the one that represents the perfection of righteousness that the Father demands we have. And then in response to that, the Father will receive us as innocent. Praise the Most High. He is our atonement. Now, in chapter 5, Moses is going to recount the Mount Sinai experience of our people. Our people. This is the story of our bloodline. Never forget that. Never forget who you are. Never forget who your Father in heaven is. Never forget that this word we keep reading is from your people. Your people wrote the words. The white man, or so-called children of Yafet, the heathen, they translated the words into the language that they made us speak. We don't even know our true tongue. The tongue that we originally spoke was Hebrew, but it's been corrupted by them. And we don't even know the true tongue. We get bits and pieces of what they call ancient Hebrew. Bits and pieces, brethren. But it's okay. One day, Zephaniah already told us, he's going to return unto us a pure language. And the whole earth will speak our tongue, daggone. Praise the Most High. Okay? But for now, we're under the control of the heathen. But now we're awakening, so we can already know their control is waning. The times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. They're about to get what they got coming from the Most High. May the Most High bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And may he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom, my family.